today I'm going to take a look at the Tide65 sent to me for review by Epomaker. So the Tide65 is a 65% wireless pre-built aluminum keyboard, and it has a lot going for it. The most noticeable is the mirrored PVD back piece, which is really nice to see at this price point. This keyboard also supports QMK and VIA, and it's gasket mounted. This keyboard is currently available for pre-order for $119 US, and you get 3 color options: anodized black and purple, or E-coated blue. There is also just one switch option, which is Epomaker's own lemon switch. Now let's open the box and see what's inside. You obviously get the keyboard itself along with a dust cover. You also get some accessories like a white rubber cable, a switch and keycap puller, an Allen key, and of course the user manual. Now let's take a closer look at the design of the Tide65. It's a pretty standard 65% with a blocker to the left of the arrow keys and a volume knob in the top right corner. The volume knob unfortunately feels a bit cheap, and it sits pretty loose too. However, the case is done great. The E-coating is done really well, and I'm a big fan of the light blue color, and especially how smooth it feels. The board also weighs around 1.27 kilos, which is about 2.8 pounds. And it really feels like a premium board. The front height is 21.5 millimeters tall, which is taller in comparison to other keyboards, so you may need to use a wrist rest. The keyboard's case structure is pretty standard, with a box on wedge style, so the side profile is simple and clean. The back side has the USB-C port located to the left, along with a switch for turning on and off wireless mode. On the right side is where you find the USB dongle, along with storage for it too. Now onto the underside of the keyboard, which looks really good. The mirror PVD is done really well, and it's a great selling point for the Tide65. There's also some curves, which is a nice touch as well. Otherwise, there's 4 silicone feet along with 6 hex screws for easy modification. Now let's take a closer look at the keycaps, switches, and stabilizers, starting with the keycaps. These keycaps are made of double shot PVT, and it has an OEM profile. It's also decently thick while allowing for OK RGB as well. The keycaps are blank on top and has front-facing shine-through legends in this futuristic-looking font. Now over to the switches. As earlier mentioned, these are the lemon switches from Epomaker. These are a 5-pin factory looped linear switch, and it has a long pole palm stem with a total travel of 3.5 millimeters. The top housing is made of PA6 and the bottom housing is PA66, which is a type of nylon material. The lemon switches uses a 22mm single stage spring with an actuation force of 40 grams. So overall, they feel decently smooth while giving you a light and snappy typing feel. Now, a quick look at the plate mounted stabs in this board. They are factory lubed, and it's done just fine, as the backspace and spacebar did have some rattle. Let's take a look at the internals of the Tide65. In the bottom case is where you find the 4000 mAh battery, along with a PET insulation pad and pour-on case foam. The PCB has south-facing RGB and has per key flex cuts for that softer typing feel. The FR4 plate has some horizontal flex cuts and uses gasket socks for the gasket mount structure. Between the PCB and the FR4 plate, you get PET film, IXPE foam, and plate foam. Now let's take a look at the RGB before we hear the sound tests in stock form and without PET film and IXPE foam. typing experience is comfortable but not too soft either, even with the FR4 plate and all foams installed. This is probably due to the flex cuts on both the plate and PCB. So, the sound profile with all foams is definitely towards the most creamy and marbly side of the sound spectrum, while the second Soundtest has a deeper sound profile to my ear, and I actually prefer the second Soundtest the best. So, which one do you prefer, the first or the second one? So the Tide65 is a really good keyboard. The backside has a beautiful PVD mirror, it's QMK and VIA compatible, and it has all the foams you need. And it's all in all a high quality keyboard. So the Tide65 has done a lot of things right, and the only nitpicks that I have is the lack of screw-in stabilizer support, the tall front lip, and the cheap feeling and wobbly volume knob. But other than that, the Tide65 is a great bang for buck keyboard, especially if you're interested in the keycaps, and I highly recommend you to check it out. Now that was it for my review. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe, and until next time, peace.